Welcome to another watercolor painting lesson. In one of these Enjoying Art member painting together event, we are talking about how to use wet into wet technique to do a leaf and catch the shadow. Before we start this video, please give this video a like, share with your friends. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and turn on notification so you won't miss any future video like this. The main part of this painting, the leaf. So we're gonna set the color for the leaf first. It has some pretty light yellow color, right? And also have some brown color, but overall the color is warm. The stem, I will paint it after I paint the catch the shadow. The timing is very important. When you squint your eye, you can see that the catch the shadow compared to the areas at the bottom of the leaf, the catch the shadow is a little bit darker. And I'm gonna use toothpick, or you can use a bamboo stick, sharpen that a little bit. Some of you probably already familiar with this because I use these techniques on some leaf paintings already. I'm gonna start do the painting. I'm gonna put my hand over here, so mark the area for the leaf and the catch the shadow coming down. I may not really need to have the entire catch the shadow at the bottom to be on the paper. I can have it up a little bit. Can be fine, okay? So I'm gonna put it over here because I want the leaf a little bit bigger. I don't want it to be too small. Okay, now I'm gonna do a little mark first. I'm gonna use just the light color, okay? And say the top will be here. You do need to think a little bit more before you start. Okay, the bottom will be here, like that. So the catch the shadow all the way off the edge, that's fine. The leaf over here. So the catch the shadow on this side of that. I'm going to use the yellow color, quite a bit of yellow color. I'm going to put it in here. You see that my color palette, the mixing area. And this already has enough red and also have blue over here. So I can start putting the yellow color and put it in here. It's already pretty good, but I need a lot more mixture, a lot more water, okay? You see that how much water over here. If there's not enough water, the effect won't be the same that you want. Okay, I'm gonna put more over here. Here you go. And maybe a little red. I'm just gonna expand it a little bit and get a little bit red into here. Okay, I'm gonna start right at the bottom. You see how much paint? A lot of paint. So paint it right over here. And coming down a little bit because I already planned the area. So you can change the shape a little bit if you want, like that. Start from this color and you can change the color a little bit if you want. And now I'm gonna add a little bit more red in here. This is wet into wet, slowly turn into other colors. It would connect it. I'm gonna paint it a little bit faster, like that. Coming up here, here you go. Let's take a look. There is a little gap over here. I'm gonna paint around this gap. Here you go, like that. I'm gonna put this color here, just to mark this space. Just paint as you go, and here you go, on this side. Now coming on over here, coming on this side, here you go. And I'm gonna, let's put a little mark, coming continue, down to the bottom over here. Okay, I'm gonna continue making the color. I'm gonna have a little bit more red and have a little blue, so make the brown color, right? So I'm gonna come back over here. Okay, here you go. And also have some gap over here. Okay, here you go.
gonna leave that around. I'm gonna refill the color. And put a little edge. That's good. Continue. Now the color very smooth. If you want to make some a little sudden changes, and you have to do that either wet into wet or come back a little bit later after you drive, right? So this is the first round for the leaf color. It's pretty good. And what I want to do, I'm gonna add some darker color. So I'm gonna mix a little bit, some color, a little bit thicker, okay, which is less water. I'm gonna put a little color right on the edge over here. Now when you put it on, it would naturally spread into the wet paint. Okay, I'm gonna put that over here. There's lots of fun when you're using wet into wet. I know it's a little scary because it looks like a little bit less control. But when you, just like you're riding on a horse, or compare with walking on the feet, right? But if you are a good horse rider, and I don't think you feel out of control. Just like think about watercolor is actually a wider horse. Okay, now put a little color over here. Now putting the color, and because it's a leaf, naturally it has a lot of soft blending. So this is good. On this edge over here, I'm gonna have a little bit more orange color. Here you go. A little bit orange color. See, I'm sure you can do it better. I have lots of distraction. I have to talk and observe and then paint at the same time. Okay, on the edge over here, I'm gonna put a little bit like that. And some spots, and I can do that after. On the top edge over there, I'm gonna have the color even darker, a little bit more blue. I'm gonna put that one more time, just on the edge. Like that. I have the dark color. Don't put the dark colors everywhere, okay? Now, when it's still wet into wet, at this point, I'm going to use the 1-inch flat brush. Now, I need to remove most of the water. You see that? Remove most of the water, otherwise it won't take up the colors. Now, the brush is pretty dry. Remove most of the wet. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just tap over here. You see that? Very easy. Smoothly lift up some white, some paint. Now, leave it a little bit lighter. That's good. And the top over here, use the other side of the brush. Also, lift it up a little bit. Careful that you don't actually introduce water into the paper. It's just the water saturation in the brush actually is drier than the water on the paper. Okay, pretty good. Now we're ready to use the technique of either the toothpick or other bamboo. So I'm gonna start from the center over here. Just slowly draw a little line. Look first. You don't want to draw too fast because naturally the leaf, it actually has a slow line, has some slowly curve over. And then on this side, I'm gonna just look first. Look at how the line moving. And oh, it looks like a very light. So I'm gonna leave it up, just barely touch the paper. Maybe that is already too dark. It's already too dark. On the next one, I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter. So if the paper dry, it won't make any effect. So I'm gonna make it pretty light. Just barely touch the paper. And on on this side. Look again, it's not exactly touching on this side. It's a little bit offset. Okay, like this. That's good. They actually make it look very natural. You see that this is already kind of dry, so it doesn't really have much effect. Okay, now the paper getting drier, but the bottom is not ready. It's not dried yet, so I cannot work in the cast shadow unless you use the hair dryer, right? So I'm gonna come back to use the calligraphy brush. Now I'm gonna come back to do a little adjustment. So let's see. I'm gonna take this color. It's not really wet. Now it looks like a little bit yellow color. It needed. Okay. Now I'm gonna add a little bit to see how it look. Not exactly the best timing yet, but just try it. Sometimes take the risk, and you're gonna add it to your experience. And I'm gonna have a little bit on this side. And the top over here very much dry already, so you can do a lot of techniques after you dry, like that. Why we're doing this at this point? Because we're waiting for the bottom here to dry, right? So we just pick something to do on the top over here, and because it's pretty dry. Okay, now I'm gonna clean my brush, just the clean brush, connect it together. Okay, like that. For some small details, using a small brush is pretty good. I'm gonna have a little bit yellow color. Actually, I'm gonna have the yellow color actually wash over here. Try different process, different techniques each time when you're doing a painting, and just feel it. It maybe come up with something different that you have done before, but that's how we actually push our confidence and push our experience further. And that's good. I'm gonna add a little color over here. I'm gonna add a little color, make it a little bit darker on the edge over here. And while we're talking, the bottom gets drier and drier. Be a little patient. You can watch me first before you start your own painting. And after finish, we can have some discussions. If you have any questions, we can explore. Okay, the bottom over here, I'm gonna have a little bit yellow color. Just add a little yellow color right at the bottom over here, like that. And let it connect it. Now the bottom is pretty dry. Now I'm gonna start working into the cast shadow. For the cast shadow, I'm gonna use the 1-inch flat brush. I'm gonna do a little bit faster. Okay, now I need to be careful about the value of the colors on the leaf and compare with the bottom. So I have to squint my eye. If you squint your eye, you can see much better. I need more the blue color. I'm gonna take a little bit blue color. And some member having trouble using this brush because the brush feeling like a little fluffy and lots of air inside the brush hair. You won't be able to control it as much. You make sure that you squeeze the water when you prepare your brush, and squeeze it and massage it a few times, and making sure that all the hair straight. Also remove all the air inside the brush in the water, okay? And then your brush will look like a pretty good like this, and pretty straight. The shape is really good. It's very important. Now, let's start from the warmer color. So I'm gonna get this. This would be a pretty good, pretty warm color. And I think it's good. I'm gonna take all this color together. Maybe even a little bit more red. Okay. I think this color pretty dark. Let's try it. I'm only gonna use a part of my flat brush, just the top. It looks like it's not even dark enough. So I'm gonna have a little bit more red, a little bit more blue. Now this is pretty dark, right? So it's all about the value. How dark is that color supposed to be? Okay. Now when you squint your eye, it may not be dark enough. Let's do a little bit faster and take a look at here. That's good. Now only make the flat brush function as a round brush by using just the little corner or a small flat brush. Okay, now we're coming on this side, leave a little gap. Like that. A little bit. Good, that's good. I like that little gap over here. Okay. That's good. Now I'm gonna quickly, you see that it's pretty dark, right? Now quickly, I don't want to wash away all the pinks on my brush. I just going to wash some of them, let it go. It just still leave some color in here. And quickly, I'm gonna take the little bit more blue color into here. Now here you go. Maybe this color doesn't really matter because you can use a little bit more of the warm blue colors. And I'm gonna make sure it's still wet over here so the color is still gonna merge together. Now here you go. A little bit. Now coming down over here, leave a little gap. I'm gonna continue a little bit challenge because you need to paint the small gap, the white gap. Okay, like that. That's good enough. Coming down really quickly. Now make sure my paper is about like 10-degree tilted, so it kind of like the color keep coming down and excess water will coming down to the bottom. Okay, keep coming down. Now it's much better at the bottom over here. Now I'm gonna have, you can make the catch the shadow shape a little bit different. You can make it a little bit longer if you want. Okay, here you go. Now coming to all the way to the bottom over here. And this process is very important that you can do it fast and also enough water. And now the catch the shadow, I very much finished that already. I'm gonna fine tune the shape a little bit. Right now, the whole paper is still wet and in the catch the shadow. So I'm gonna leave it like this. If you introduce anything into it and the water is going to push the color, we create the texture. If you don't want those texture, leave it, let it dry before you come back. And the other thing I want to emphasize on is when you started the color, make sure you make the color dark enough in the catch the shadow. Otherwise, it won't have enough contrast to separate the leaf and the catch the shadow. Right? Good. I'm gonna clean my brush. Put it on the side. Now I'm come back to my calligraphy brush. It's kind of like the painting. It's kind of rotating around and one thing to the other thing and to the other thing. And the top over here, I'm going to use the water. I'm gonna wash just the clean water. After this dried, you can do a lot of things if you want. Okay, clean it up a little bit. So make it a little bit smoother. And over here, I can see that a little light coming from the top. Over here, I can clean it up a little bit. We can use the lifting as an important, very important technique for watercolor. Okay, now I'm gonna lift some colors, make it smoother, or also make it lighter. And at the same time, actually, I can put the yellow color over here and you can see that, but don't make the yellow color on top of the paper and stay over there. I actually use enough water and let the yellow color actually merge into the color layer underneath. I want the leaf here have more yellow color. Here you go. Now at this point, you can apply the 3 primary colors separately, layer over layers, if you prefer to try that. Okay, like that. Pretty good. As long as you're not putting the color touching into the cast shadow if it's still wet. Okay, like that. And also, I talk about to use the oval shape brush, and I have the link in the video descriptions, or you can take a look at our store for the materials. You go to enjoyingart.com. On the top has a navigations. You just click in the middle tab. It's called store, and you can see the link to the materials, and you can have the direct link to the exact brush that I'm talking about. Now over here, now I'm going to just softly loosen this color that I added to over onto the leaf area. And as soon as you can remove that, and the painting look more clean, and see that? It look more finished already. Okay, remove that a little bit and make sure you have enough water, okay, to do that. Okay, now it's pretty good. And the top over here almost dry. You can touch it a little bit. You can see it. It's just, if you just put it like a muted and not no any glassy look, and you can touch it and you can feel it. Is any water there? There's still, it may not be really ready. So I'm gonna take a little time and coming over here. I don't like the shape by producing by this oval shape. So I'm gonna come back to the round brush because I want this shape a little bit smaller, a little bit more rounded. So I have that over here. Any questions now? I'm gonna lift up a little bit because I want that piece shape and actually the form coming up a little bit. So I'm gonna just lift up a little bit. You always can find something to do while you're waiting, some area to dry. And if you don't want to use the hair dryer, now I'm gonna just use quite a bit of water. While you're doing the lifting, make sure you use enough water, and it would make it look a little bit more moisture and a little bit more nicer. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna have a little bit lighter area over here too. Make it come up a little bit. So this shape is not going to be look flat. The leaf will look more like a changing, like a here and up and down. Okay, while we're talking about that, this dry enough. Okay, we do the stem. I'm gonna mix the brown color. It had a little yellow color. It's always thinking about looking at your mixing area. Is that which color that I can modify it on the color palette. Now this is good enough. There's a dark brown color. Now let's pay attention. I'm gonna start over here. Like that, coming up. Okay. And then over here. Look again. Now the stem is almost finished. I'm gonna use this color also. Put it like over here. Now I'm gonna also use this color and put some texture over here, a little bit over here and the edge. Like that. Put a little bit at the tip. Oh, that's good. Like this. Maybe a little bit. And add a little bit. And because this area is a little bit, actually a little bit wet, because I just add some yellow color to it. And just put a little dot and over here and over there like that. and make it a little bit more realistic. Right? How you feel? And I'm gonna put a little bit over here. For this area, I need to soften there. I don't want the edge to look all the same. Okay. Okay. Over here, I'm gonna put also a little color like this. Okay. Right. And now looking at the bottom over here, I want the edge of the cast shadow a little bit softer. In this case, I'm just going to use the brush. Just going to soften that a little bit. Actually, I'm going to change to the 1-inch brush. Use the clean brush. Make sure there's no paint in your brush. If it does, it will introduce the outside. I'm only going to use the edge over here. It's just touching the edge. Soften that a little bit. Don't forget, inside over here also have the brown color, but it's quite a bit like a brown purple color, and it's quite warm. I'm gonna maybe a little bit more like over here. Now see those small things. Here you go. Like that. They're actually pretty good. Maybe too dark, so I'm gonna let go all the wet in my brush. It's just put in the middle over here, tap, and remove some paint, and that's good. Okay.
Now this painting is finished. If you're an Enjoying Art member, please join us every Friday. We have 2 light painting sections, one in the morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the evening, 8 p.m. We're going to continue to have more fun painting together. If this is your first time, please join us. Give this video a like, share it, subscribe, and turn on notification. And I will see you in my next lesson.